Once upon a time, the U.S. women's national soccer team stood as a symbol of American excellence, unity, and pride. The year was 1999, and players like Mia Hamm, Brandi Chastain, and Julie Foudy captured the imagination of an entire nation, becoming household names and heroes for a new generation, girls and boys alike.
Not only have they captured our imaginations, they've definitely stolen our hearts. And by creating the largest women's sporting event in history, they have exploded the myth once and for all that women's sports can attract fans and public attention, and it is about time that has happened.
But if you fast forward a bit, that same team, led by figures like Megan Rapinoe, became one of the most polarizing and disliked teams in American sports, with many openly rooting for them to lose. So how did this happen? Well, let's look into it. In the summer of 1999, the U.S. women's national team captured more than a trophy. They captured the soul of a nation. The team's grit, determination, and humility made them the perfect embodiment of the American dream. They weren't just great athletes, they were role models who inspired pride and brought Americans together across political, cultural, and gender lines. The 2012 Olympics only cemented that legacy, with players like Abby Wambach and Alex Morgan bringing the nation to its feet once again. It wasn't about politics, and it was not about activism. It was about the love of the game, the honor of wearing the red, white, and blue, and the unity of an entire nation standing behind its team. But starting around 2016, the tone definitely began to shift. Megan Rapinoe, once a respected winger, became the face of the team's political turn. Her kneeling during the national anthem in solidarity with Colin Kaepernick opened a floodgate of activism within the squad. The team increasingly aligned itself with left-wing causes, such as support for Black Lives Matter, calls to defund the police, and advocacy for transgender inclusion in women's sports.
Obviously, I'm in support of the players who have knelt and who have not knelt as well, and who, have publicly supported, sort of the movement that Colin Kaepernick started. I think Dell said today that he understands how his fans feel and feel the same, that the players should stand for the anthem. I mean, I don't know who he's talking to, but he's obviously leaving out a huge swath, millions and millions of fans who don't feel that way and who don't share those same sentiments. So obviously we have to stand for the national anthem. That rule was put in place after I knelt. I don't agree with the rule, but I don't think I really have much choice to not follow it. I guess no matter where I am, hopefully I can be just a person that brings that symbol just by being me. So you can stand, but you still know I knelt at some point.
Police brutality in the U.S. is not like a debate. It's happening. I mean, this was, September 2016. We'd gone through we got through Trayvon Martin. We'd gone through Ferguson with the murder of Michael Brown. We gone through shooting of police officers. I think it was at Dallas or Louisiana. So there was like a lot of high profile shootings. It was kind of like in the public sort of air. And I just remember Colin speaking about it so clearly. Like, this is just a systemic problem that we have, that like, open up your eyes, everyone. It's not it's not like is this happening or is this not? I mean, just look at the history of our country. Basically, we're founded on slavery and the brutality that has persisted all of that time. And I think immediately I kind of just like innately drew this this comparison to like me coming out as gay. Like, I had been in a position that I had asked people who weren't gay to understand what I was saying. I don't need you to be gay to understand what I'm asking of you. I'm asking you to stand with me. I don't even need you to walk in my shoes. I just need you to believe me. Yeah. And then we can have that. So I feel like that just was very clear to me almost instantaneously of like, oh, that's what Colin's asking for. Colin's asking for people to believe him and to believe Black people at large and to stand with them. And like, don't worry about what everybody's going to say. Like to me, it was like you either believe Colin or you need to be prepared to call Colin and Black people a liar, that this isn't happening.
I talk all the time, and I try to do this in my own life, of what can you do to make a difference every day, whether you're an individual, whether you're a brand or a company or whatever. So to be able to bring a global brand like Smirnoff together with a Black female-led business, it's just a really fun and creative way to continue to show visibility and continue to make the world just a little bit better every day. So often with discrimination and with disparities, especially in sports, it's like you don't know it until you see it. I mean, we talk all the time about, we talk about equal pay, and I think that the compensation and the salaries are, sort of the clickbait in it. But really what we talk about all the time is the funding, the resources, the allocation put towards that, whether that's branding and marketing. The floor says women's basketball or like women's term. Well, no. Of course, we're watching women's basketball. Everybody knows this. Like, it's March Madness. Like, March Madness is the branding property that everybody knows, and that has value. So you are withholding value from the women's tournament for what? Like, why don't you want both tournaments to succeed? When you turn on women's sports and we're given a subpar platform to play on, that doesn't then signal to the viewer that this is an elite sport or this is an elite team. And so it all matters. It's about, the whole kind of system and how men are systematically propped up over women time and time again.
I do want to briefly talk about the Draymond Green tweet. So I'm glad you brought that up. I know he recently posted about equal pay in the WNBA, and he essentially said it was on the WNBA and businesses to promote exposed stars and kind of took it off guys. Sue said it best to him. She said, "You got the problem right. You tagged the wrong people."
I think his mindset probably honestly was in the way that he does things and the way that men are able to do that. We are not able to, believe me, I've asked. I've asked for funding. I've asked for more salary. I've asked for, better accommodations. I've asked for better travel. I've asked for more stories to be told. Believe me, I've asked for all of these things. We've all asked for all of these things. I think it comes, from a place of not, frankly, being educated enough. We are out here trying. We've asked these things. That's kind of how discrimination works. As with all social issues, you can't just rely on the people that are being oppressed, whether it's racial issues or gender issues or sexuality or women in sports. We need allies, and we need all people to get in the fight to start to break down so many of these discrepancies and these disparities for us.
Queer fans are the fans. I feel like they've always been the fans. They've always been first to buy tickets, first to buy merch, first to be supportive. Obviously, they see themselves on the field, and we feel the same way. For me, it's really meaningful. I always knew that it was going to be a safe place to come out. It was going to be a safe place to be out on the field and express myself fully and really like not just be tolerated or accepted, but like really like deeply appreciated and celebrated. I didn't always know exactly who I was, but there was space for it no matter what. I mean, the gays do it better in pretty much every aspect. So to have the gays, I guess, consider me a queer icon is very flattering. You guys will make me blush.
I think we know that, immigration does not cause loss of jobs. Immigration is actually good for the economy. We know that women in the workforce is good for the economy. We know that equality is good for the economy. We know that mass incarceration is bad for the economy. We know that mass incarceration is bad for society, ends up costing us more money in the long run, the war on drugs, whatever it may be. I think that has proven to be really detrimental. See, we have, a white nationalist, I think, in the White House, and the spewing of hate and the othering of the rest of the country has only led to, more rife between people and more despair and more anxiety and more fear going forward. There's been nothing to ease, Donald Trump's base, really. There's been nothing. It's not like he's given them a bunch of jobs. It's not like he's made life really better for them. He's just given them this false reason why maybe they're not happy with their lives. There's been no sort of path forward.
Sort of use racism to steal from them, to summarize it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Are you excited about going to the White House?
I'm not going to the White House.
No, I'm not going to the White House.
Okay.
We're not going to be invited.
You're not going to be invited?
I doubt it.
I stand by the comments that I made about not wanting to go to the White House. I think obviously entering with a lot of passion, considering how much time and effort and pride we take in the platform that we have, and using it for good and for leaving the game in a better place and hopefully the world in a better place. I don't think that I would want to go, and I would encourage my teammates to think hard about lending that platform or having that co-opted by an administration that doesn't feel the same way and doesn't fight for the same things that we fight for.
And while the mainstream media cheered, calling them brave and progressive, much of the country saw something else. They saw arrogance, virtue signaling, and moral superiority.
Despite those wins, I've been devalued, I've been disrespected, and dismissed because I am a woman.
What do you have to say? What do you deserve?
I deserve this.
You deserve all of it. Everything. You deserve this. She belongs.
This is my charge to everyone. We have to be better. We have to love more, hate less. We got to listen more and talk less. We got to know that this is everybody's responsibility. Every single person here. Every single person who's not here. Every single person who doesn't want to be here. Every single person who agrees and doesn't agree. It's our responsibility to make this world a better place. I think this team does an incredible job of taking that on our shoulders and understanding the position that we have and the platform that we have within this world. Yes, we play sports. Yes, we play soccer. Yes, we're female athletes, but we're so much more than that. Incredible. We took so much on our shoulders to be here today, to celebrate with you today, and we did it with a smile. So do the same for us, please.
But Rapinoe wasn't alone. Teammates like Kelly O'Hara, Alex Morgan echoed these positions, despite knowing that these stances alienated many Americans who just wanted to root for their team and not be lectured on progressive ideology.
And clearly she's not happy here. And it's a bit concerning that Vlatko Andonovski isn't doing that. And as I see some of these other images, players are smiling, they're laughing. It's not good enough. And you need more Kellys. And that's the reason why this team is in this situation right now. Because Kelly will say it how it is, whether players like it or not, but she brings that leadership in that capacity to do that.
I mean, you had 90 minutes to show it, and there was no player out there on the pitch to bring it there. And I mean, what you gonna do? It's nice to have this mentality afterwards, but 11 players playing can't bring it on? Well, this is more than just concerning.
These are not the images we should be expecting to see from a team that survived Portugal and survived to get to the round of 16. I appreciate them taking care of the fans, but
I have never witnessed, and just seeing these images for the first time right now on the desk, I have never witnessed something like that. There's a difference between being respectful of the fans and saying hello to your family, but to be dancing, to be smiling. I mean, the player of the match was that post. You were lucky to not be going home right now.
Rapinoe even publicly advocated for biological men to compete in women's sports, sparking outrage from both conservative and feminist circles.
So Megan Rapinoe, who plays U.S. women's soccer, says that it's disgusting to ban transgender athletes from competing against biological women. What? In her interview, she says, "Show me the evidence that trans women are taking everyone's scholarships, or dominating in every spot, or winning every title. Challenge accepted, Megan." Just a point to start, the U.S. women's national team, which Megan is on, was beat by a squad of under 15-year-old boys in 2017. But biological men don't have an advantage, right, Megan?
Megan Rapinoe. Now that she's made all of her millions, she has a little message for the rest of us, and that is we're not allowed to say anything she doesn't approve of when it comes to trans athletes. She says to Time magazine that in particular she's got a problem with Dave Chappelle, Martina Navratilova, and Sage Steele. She goes on and says that what's happening here is women's sports is being, quote, weaponized. Show me all the trans people who are nefariously taking advantage of being trans in sports. It's just not happening. Okay, really? Megan Rapinoe, stand by. All right, I'll start with the obvious. Leah Thomas, the North Carolina volleyball player who seriously injured another high school girl in playing opposite her. Austin Killups in cycling. Rachel McKinnon in cycling. Here's some other trans cyclists. Teresa Plavy, Leslie Mumford, Tiffany Thomas, Molly Cameron, Emily Bridges in running, Terry Miller, and Andrea Yearwood. Athena Ryan, the weightlifter, Laurel Hubbard. We could keep going. We could go all day long. Do your homework. Do your homework before you get out there and spew a bunch of nonsense.
Now she's retired. Now she says she wants to see biological males who've transitioned to be trans women play in the women's national soccer team. Not while she was playing herself, so they couldn't take her place, these biological males, but now she'd be quite happy for that to happen. In fact, she wants it to happen. If that's what your contribution is to women's rights, because she's basically saying, look at me, I did all this stuff for women's rights. Actually, Miss Rapinoe, what you've done, you've left with a little sting in the tail, is that now, having fought for women's rights, for pay parity and so on, which I totally applaud you for, now you've left endorsing something that would destroy women's rights to fairness and equality. That is your legacy.
By the 2023 World Cup, the backlash reached a boiling point. Americans, once the team's biggest supporters, were cheering for their defeat. Clips of Rapinoe laughing after missing a penalty became emblematic of the team's disconnect from the country they were supposed to represent, and the ultimate reason why they were there, play soccer.
In 2015, all of America loved these U.S. women. Most of them were relatively anonymous at that time. They were incredibly likable. They were completely without partisanship, and certainly they hadn't gone overboard with the woke agenda. And then, Megan, something crazy happened. Donald Trump got elected, and I feel like people need to remember this. Trump offered for the U.S. women, when they won their title in France in 2019, to come to the White House and be celebrated, as is commonplace with champion sports teams.
I'm not going to White House.
And the U.S. women turned their back on that offer. And from that point forward, they allowed, I think, the woke instincts of Megan Rapinoe to direct every decision they made. They became polarizing. They became, frankly, quite unlikable. And ultimately, that led to, and I think this is important, the single worst performance by the U.S. Women's World Cup team ever.
The stuff off the field is like the reason I'm here on this planet. That feels like my life's work and something that just feels like breathing to me. So I love that work. I love being able to leverage this amazing platform and use that to, in some way make the world a better place.
There has to be a come to Jesus type of moment for this team, with the recognition of some of the things that Carly is talking about, in understanding that all of the good and all of the positive and all of the fame and all the fortune and all the attention that you get is based off of one thing, all right? It's not because you're incredible as a person. It's because you're incredible as a soccer player and you win on a consistent basis. And America loves winners. And all of those accolades and all of that praise has come because you have won.
Even during the 2024 Olympics, the sentiment persisted. Fans felt this team didn't wear the red, white, and blue. They wore a uniform of division, arrogance, and self-righteousness. The rise and fall of the U.S. women's national team is more than a story about sports. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when hubris, moral superiority, and political activism overshadow humility, gratitude, and unity. The team that once represented all Americans became a symbol of elite detachment.
What do you have to say?
And ideological posturing. They stopped playing for the name on the front of the jersey and started playing for the hashtags. And when that happens, people stop cheering. Sports can be a beacon that brings us together or a weapon that tears us apart. The U.S. women's national team's fall from grace didn't have to happen. But when you stop respecting the fans, the flag, and the game itself, you might just find yourself with a stadium full of people rooting for you to lose.